It's big. Let me show you. If you're new here, I'm Nigel Danson, a landscape photographer, and I'm building my dream camper van with no previous experience. And my plan is to use it to go on adventures all over Europe. So far, and with a fair few ups and downs and lost tools, I've planned out the layout, added the windows and put other holes in the van, some meant to be there, some maybe not, been on the roof and sorted the main vent, solar panels and roof rack, added the insulated floor and this amazing bulkhead with a photo sliding door. Which brings us to today's video. Oh, well, I've got to the point now where the insulation, the electrics are sort of impacting on one another, and I feel like now I'm going to have to start framing out my van because I want to get the framing in so I know exactly how thick to put my insulation. Before I do that, I'm going to work out exactly where all my electrics go. Just be 100% sure I've got all the electrics in. I think I have. There's a few things that aren't there though, so I'm just going to check all those positions and then we'll get to framing. Insulating the van is probably the most important thing. I'm going to be going to cold climates like Norway, Scotland in the winter, and I want to make sure I'm toasty warm. Now, I'm going to be controversial here because, and I'll talk about this later in the video, but I don't think you need a vapor barrier. And I've sort of got a scientific reason for that, I think. I've researched it a lot. It seems to me that it's going to cause more problems than solutions. Now, I know in the comments everyone's going to say I'm wrong, but it's my van, I'll do what I want. I want to make sure that it's as well insulated as possible. I've insulated the floor, so when I put the floor down, you saw all the insulation that I put down on the floor. As you can see from that, I used the Kingspan insulation. That has got the best R value, and an R value basically is just a measure of how well or how badly the material conducts heat. And I think Kingspan's probably the best. In here, I've got a big space. So what do I do with that big space? Well, I think I'm going to do three things. First of all, I want to sort of put some sound deadening on. So you can see it's a bit sort of tinny. I think I'm going to do that in two ways. First of all, I'm going to put this Dodo mat on. I actually think Dodo's like the name that everybody uses, to be honest. I probably could have just got any. I think it just seems like it's probably all produced in the same place. But anyway, that's going to go on here. It's going to stop some sound deadening. I've done that there. And then this is the Dodo mat, basically insulation and sound deadening in one. And I'm going to put that in all the other places basically that I can get it. I think that's going to give me pretty good insulation on the walls and the ceilings. However, on top of that, I'm also going to put wool in here. Well, it's actually not wool, it's recycled plastic bottles. And that acts slightly differently than this. It needs to be quite aerated, so I don't want to compress that. So that's going to work well in that volume, but I can't put that in until I put my electrics in. Just get on with it, Nigel. Right, what am I doing? So I got this first section of insulation in, and then I got on to doing the first part of the many parts of the electrics. I've got a sheet here with all the things, in fact 2 sheets with all the things. I've planned it out on a spreadsheet. So things like the table USB, which is a high current USB connection, 12 volt plugs, 240 volt plugs, and I've worked out the wire length and then the gauge of wire that I need and the cross-sectional area which is associated with that gauge. And to do that, I had to work out the current for each of them like this. Cue me doing some B-roll over doing a calculation at the computer, I think. So one of the two 12 volt circuits, the actual fuse box, is down here. So I'm going to run conduit from here to the places that I need the wire to go, which is a max air fan, some USB sockets here, and also my light. So I will be talking about the electrics in a dedicated video because there's so much to go into. Anyway, I got this conduit in. It was tricky. It has these sort of ribs on it, which makes it really difficult to go through the metal pipe sometimes, but the conduit helps to protect the wire, so it's really important before I get the insulation in. So next thing is putting some of this, which is basically recycled plastic bottles. And I'm going to put it in these first, these gaps here, because I'm then going to board this over with some battening so that I can put my ceiling on. So I want to do that today, so I'm going to fill all these holes. Right, this is where it gets exciting. I have wood. Anyway, I'm going to put this plywood in various places as like a framing structure so that I can bolt things onto it, because it's difficult to bolt to the metal, but I can use two methods to bolt this wood to the metal. Then I can just use wood screws into the wood. The first method is self-tapping screws into the metal, and the second one is rivets. So I'm going to use rivets. I'm going to either use the existing holes or put new holes in for rivets wherever I think I'm going to have something that's structurally requiring some weight. So for instance, the top area where I'm going to have some cupboards, the bed, and probably some areas around the kitchen as well. So I have matched up the holes that I've drilled in this wood to the metal frame here, and then basically I've just drilled some holes for the rivets. The reason I've drilled new holes, because there's lots of holes already in, so it just makes it way easier to have new holes, because then I can match them up to this and align them really easily. And then I've just got a rivet gun here and M5 rivets, and a rivet basically is a little brass, I think it is, little rivet, I don't know what else to call it. Basically you put it on the end of the rivet gun like this, and then you can push it in the hole and rivet it in. The key is making sure you square when you do it. So now this should all fit together. Screw this in. Now that one that I did at first might be a little bit bent, so I'm going to just put this one in first. Genius. Now the question is whether this one will work, because this is looking good. I'm going to try and get all the framing in place, and then I'm going to put the insulation in between the gaps. I think I was going to put the insulation in first, but I feel like I'll be able to put this insulation between any gaps I make. So I'm going to get the framing around the windows so that I can put on the boards that I'm going to put on the wall. This wall here, just this bit and a bit in there, is going to have like tunnel groove boards on it that I'm going to whitewash. So it's really tricky around the window. I've just started here putting these and these on, so I need to put a few more on and a few down that side as well. Then it was a case of just clamping it up and screwing it all together. These pocket holes definitely make everything easier to get it square. I've made this frame basically. I thought this would be the easiest way of doing it, and then I can just sort of put that on there like that, and then should just be able to bolt it in there with the pocket screws, and then bolt it in here with self-tapping metal screws. I just think that should work. That's the plan anyway. So I'm gonna have to drill some holes for this to go in. So just need to think about where they're gonna go. Around about there. This is the other side of the fridge, and although I've curved it there, I'm not going to curve it here, just to make my life easy, because there's a break, so you won't see the difference. So this is going to be straight. I've just put some, can connect to the window frame there to something to screw into. I've just got to make sure I don't screw too far. In fact, I can probably just glue it, and then I'll just screw down there. So I need to do another one for that window, and then the idea is afterwards, the board's going to come up to here, and then I'll have a bit of edge piece that comes over here and fits nice round here, maybe some oak or something like that. I think will look good. So now I've got the electrics in down here, and I think there's nothing else to go in these gaps. I've got to fill all these gaps with this ready for the cladding. So I've got to go around just finishing off the framing and fill in everything with this. So in the last video, and if you haven't watched it, I'll put a link just up here, I got the floor down, but I didn't finish it off. So here's the oak finished floor. Now I did get some black sort of coin lino for the back of the van, but I tested it and it just wasn't very durable. So I think I'm just going to put this down everywhere. I've cut it out so it fits, but that bit at that end, I'm going to chop a little bit more. So I thought I'd done all the holes in the van, but nope, I had to do the shower vent next. And that was an easy case of just drawing round for a backing plate, cutting it out with a jigsaw without chopping my fingers off, making sure it fits, and then chopping out some metal in the roof again. And this went pretty well until, yeah, that'll polish out, I'm sure. And it all fit pretty well, really. I just had to screw it down and waterproof it. And the intention is I'm going to paint the white parts of this black so it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. So the heater sort of hot water system. I've been putting off this for so long, but we've got to put a diesel line in. We've got to get this exhaust and air intake. I think it's going to go here. And I've thought about where it's going to go. I think this is a good spot. We'll talk about it in a lot more detail soon. There's always another hole, isn't there? So this is the exhaust and air intake for the diesel heater. So I just had to drill through that. Now I should have put some sort of protection on the car here, which I had done for the other holes. So there's iron filings going everywhere, which isn't great, but I cleared it up afterwards. And then it was just a question of screwing this in. It was fairly easy, really, ready for when I fix that later. Right, as you can see, I'm now under the van, and that's because diesel tank. I need to connect to the diesel tank and just get a line over there somewhere. This is the bit I've been dreading because I've got to lower the diesel tank to get to the aux input on the top of the diesel tank. So my plan is to put a jack underneath it. I'm going to loosen this strap and take these straps off and then just lower it down. There's no diesel in it, so I've let it go dry on diesel, so it should be fairly light. I think it might even be plastic. No, maybe it's metal. Let's go. Right, the plan is I'm going to loosen these front ones a little bit, and then the back ones I'm going to take off so that it'll hopefully just bend down like that, because I think, hopefully, the diesel line goes in at that end. Oh my word, this is so hard. Could you pass me the other wrenchy thing? So. Right, come on. Good, got it with that. I can now use my power. This is in the way. I'm gonna have to take that off, I think. It's right in there. I can see it, but I can't really get to it. I could maybe just take, wow, God, that's got so many screws on it. I don't think I can get that off. Oh. Right, I'll tell you what. Can you just pass me the, oh, it's down here, isn't it? I don't know if that helps or not. Okay. So I'm at the diesel tank end and I've got to get the diesel line in. So I bought this kit, which is basically made by Bass Patcher. There's a little plastic tip that you chop off and then you push this on and it clips on. And then this connects to this blue wire here. So this is going to connect to this with some rubber connections, which then goes to this, which is the pump. And this pumps the diesel out of the diesel tank. This has got to be at an angle like that, which it has a little cradle for it. So this little cradle sits on it and makes it got an angle. And then this wire is this wire here, and this goes into the Truma heater. So that's the plan now. So luckily with the VW Crafter, it has an auxiliary diesel line. So you just have to snip off the end of the plastic like this, and then you can connect this valve onto the top of it. So apart from getting to it, which was really difficult, it isn't actually that difficult to fit the diesel line. And then it was just a case of connecting it to the body of the van. Right, I've got the line on, so now I just need to hang this up here. I'm really not going to go through these are the brake lines. Safe as houses. Not going anywhere, that. Good. So I know this week's video has been a little bit bitty. I've done a lot of different things, but that's what it's like on the camper van, to be honest. And what is going to happen is I've got a lot of footage recorded. I'm a long way further ahead than what you've seen now. So I'm going to release a video every other week. So we're going to have a photography video, and in the midweek, we'll probably have a camper van video as well. So I think I'm getting there. It's really exciting. Next week, I'm going to show you the shower that I'm building, and also I built a monitor lift. More about that in the next episode of this epic camper van.